What's up, YouTube? Black Renaissance '07 back again with another video. As you saw from the title, I'm going to discuss ways you can beat car dealerships when purchasing a used car. This information will be helpful, no doubt, when buying a new car, but this is specifically for a used car just because I've only purchased used cars. So I am certain that the information in this video will be helpful. I've broken it down into 4 different sections by research, test drive, negotiation, and then the financing piece of it. So do stick around. I appreciate it. Check it out. Okay, so the first leg of your journey to purchasing a new car is the research. So this is quite possibly the most critical, most important section. So your research needs to be done before you go to the dealership. So you don't want to go to the dealership not knowing what you want, because you're more apt to be persuaded by the salesperson. So it's better to have a very good idea, a good understanding of what it is specifically that you're looking for, and familiarize yourself with that particular model. If at all possible, maybe you can narrow it down to like 1 or 2 models, as opposed to just coming to the dealer and you're not really sure what you want. So like saying that I want an SUV versus saying I'm looking for a 2018 Honda Pilot is totally different. So you want to be as specific as possible, because what that's going to do is it'll allow you to do your research on the back end while you're at home, so that when you arrive at the dealership, you will be more informed than the salesperson. Oftentimes in these transactions and negotiations especially, the person with the most information is generally in a better position to get a better deal than the other. So you want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. Make sure that you're researching the car. You also, important note, the best times to go. Dealers or dealerships, they have quotas that they have to meet, sales quotas. So at the end of the month is typically the best time to go if that happens to align with your schedule. So that's a great time to go. I say that because when they are looking to roll in new inventory, the cars that have been on the lot for the longest, they may be more willing to negotiate harder or give you a better price on that car, as opposed to a car that just arrived and you show up at the beginning of the month. So that's also something that's really important, is your timing. Additionally, you're going to want to use Carfax or Kelley Blue Book. These are really important websites because they provide the consumer with a lot of information, as long as you provide the model of the car, the manufacturer, the model of the car, approximately how many miles is on it, which you will see on the website, on the dealership's website. You'll see that information. You'll be able to provide Kelley Blue Book or Carfax with that information, and then they will print out a report. Carfax at least will print out a report on the vehicle's maintenance. You will need that. That's going to help you determine if it's competitively priced. Additionally, you'll need the year, the mileage, the vehicle condition, and any options that are going to affect price, because all of these things are going to cause the value of the car to go up or down. And so it's important that when you're going to the dealership, you're operating from a stance of knowledge and not just arbitrarily making numbers up. Like the dealer doesn't care if a car is priced at $15,000 and you feel like it should be $10,000, or you can only afford $12,000. If it's competitively priced at $15,000, they will not budge. So you need to go in and be armed with as much information as you possibly can. Okay, and finally, before you go to the dealership looking for a car, just because inventory is pretty tight, a lot of people are interested in buying used cars or new cars for that matter, you're going to make sure that you need to make sure that you call the dealership ahead of time to verify that the car is actually still there. No sense in doing a bunch of research and spinning your time on a car that's not even at the dealership anymore. So definitely get a point of contact at the dealer, verify that the car is actually still there. And now we can move into the next topic of the video, which is the test drive. So for the test drive, you're gonna wanna make sure that you come with a notebook, paper towels, and also having someone else with you will help. I'll explain why later on in the video. And also make a request that the car be cold. You don't want the car to be warmed up before you get there. I'll also explain why that's preferred. Okay, when you conduct your test drive, it's better to be alone in the car. And by alone, I mean without the salesperson. You really don't want the salesperson there because oftentimes they're going to provide you with a lot of information. And if you've done your homework on the car, you know just as much, if not more, than they know. So again, you have to realize they are selling, yes, they're in the business of selling cars, but you're there looking for one car. They have to make sure they keep a very shallow knowledge or a general knowledge of a lot of their inventory. So the advantage you have in this situation is you're just looking for one car. So the more, again, going back to what I said earlier, the more information you have, the better. If the salesperson insists that they come along for the test drive, although again, it's not my preference that they do, make sure that they shut their mouth. Be upfront about it. They need to be quiet. You're there not to hear their opinion of the car or hear all them spit all these details and facts. You are there to test the car and to make so that you can have enough or gather enough information to make an informed decision on the person, on the purchase. Okay, so when you take the car on a test drive, you'll need to make sure you do a mix of both city and highway driving. This is because certain problems may not manifest themselves unless you're operating the car at maybe a higher engine speed. So you'll need to test your braking, acceleration, your steering, your suspension, and also your transmission. Your braking, while you're braking, does the car brake adequately? Do you have to press the pedal all the way to the floor to get it to stop? That's a problem. So is it grinding? Is it making any noises when you're braking? When you're accelerating, does the acceleration of the car, is it linear or does it struggle? Does it seem like it's struggling to accelerate? That could also be a problem. When you're steering the car, does the steering wheel, when you turn the car in a certain direction, does the car go down along that path? Or is there a lot of play in the steering wheel? For example, if I'm traveling in a straight line, can I take the steering wheel and if I lightly move it up and down, does that not have any effect on the travel of the car? Is it still moving straight? That could be, again, indicative of problems with your steering system. Suspension. If you're going over bumps and you hear a lot of rattling, you hear a lot of banging, you hear noises, that's a problem. Your transmission, as you're accelerating, is the transmission shifting gears smoothly, or is it lurching? Is it lunging? Again, going back to the requesting that the car be started cold when you arrive at the dealership, you don't want, if you want to be paying attention to, is the car making any noises? Like sometimes you'll have idler pulleys and different pulleys and bearings on the car that will make sounds when you first turn the car on, but after the car gets warm and after those metallic parts, after they heat up, you know that when anything really gets hot, when surfaces get hot and when materials rather, when they get hot, they tend to expand. And so once they become warm, sometimes they will stop squealing and stop making noises. And so that's why when you go to the dealership, you want to make sure that the car is not running. You want it to start cold so that they haven't primed the car, or they haven't tried to try to trick you, essentially. And it's far better for you to go into this process as a cynic. I guarantee you need to look out for your own best interest. I'm not saying that all car sales people, men and women, I'm not saying that they are all shady, all tricky, but this is how they eat. This is how they eat, and I don't put it past them, and you should neither. So moving along, functionality checks, or I'm sorry, don't want to get too ahead of myself. Use all of your senses. This is where having someone else helps. So if I'm driving the car, I'm thinking about, one, I'm making my assessment, I'm trying to take in information on what the car is doing, any sounds that it's making, but also I have to focus on driving. This is where if you have someone who comes along with you, that can be of great benefit, because they also can listen to anything that's wrong with the car and then point out things that may be a problem. So that's really helpful as well. Now, do you hear any grinding noise? So you need to be checking for vibrations, grinding, clanking noises. Are there any odors? Like does it smell like fuel? Anything burning? Is it musty? Like your brother, I mean, not your brother, but like, is it musty? Does it have like a damp smell to it? That could be an indication of like an old cabin air filter. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you are kind of in tune with the car and that you're really paying attention to these things. So functionality checks. Do the windows work? Look, you're gonna be buying this car. 9 times out of 10, it's not always the case, but if this is a used car and it's an older vehicle, a lot of times they will not have a warranty. And so you wanna make sure that when you leave from the dealership and that when the transaction is complete, that you're fully satisfied with what it is that you just paid for. So you need to check the windows. If it has power windows, make sure that works. Power locks, the key fob, that needs to work. All the signals, the lights inside the car, the headlights, all your safety lights. Yes, it should be covered by your state inspection sticker. And that's another kind of sidebar really quick. If the car does not have a current inspection sticker, that's a huge red flag. Huge red flag. So if it doesn't have a current inspection sticker, you need to demand that they get it inspected, because you're kind of getting set up. If the car already doesn't have a current inspection sticker, you can expect to get screwed off the rip. That's my take on it, because again, I don't trust them. You do what you want. Now, moving along. So seats, if you have power seats, check the power seats, check the sunroof, the trunk, and the gas cap. The wipers need to work, the parking brake, hazard, AC, and the defroster. So that a lot of people don't kind of think about that, but your defroster is actually a requirement for your car to pass inspection. So that stuff needs to work. Additionally, you want to check your tread wear on your tire. Is it uneven? Is it too low? Does the tire have any knots or bald spots on them? Is the tire too low? Look, if I come to the dealership and I'm like, okay, I'm looking to test drive this car. If the tire's low and they say, oh, well, we'll just go get a tank and we'll fill the tire up, you already know the tire's leaking off the rip, so that's money out of your pocket. So you have to think about these things, because they're not going to volunteer information and put themselves in a position to lose money to you. So it's on you to do your own due diligence. The onus is on you to make sure that you're as informed as possible and that you're thinking very clearly and very sharply about this purchase that you're about to make. Additionally, you need to check the fluids, check the fluid levels, and check the color of the fluids. You can find all that stuff in another video, like in a separate video really quick though, to check your engine oil. And this is why I ask that you bring paper towels. So when you're trying to check your fluid levels, your transmission should be like a pink color. If it's brown, it's not good. It's not good. At the bare minimum, because you're thinking, if this is a reputable dealership, the absolute minimum they would do is say, okay, if the transmission fluid needs to be changed, let's go ahead and change it. But if they're not doing that, to me, that's a red flag. Your oil, that should not be dark brown. It should not be, it definitely shouldn't be black. Oil, when you first put it in the engine, should be like a dark to medium amber color. Look up what color amber is. So it should be about that color. You don't want any oil that is, again, dark brown, really dark brown, or even black. So make sure you're checking that. You again need to do your own due diligence to make sure that you're not getting screwed. You also, this is something I'm certain you probably have not heard. You'll need to check the undercarriage of the car. Why is this important? You want to check the undercarriage because there could be oil leaks, transmission fluid leaks. It could be power steering fluid leaks that you may not be able to see from the when looking down on the from the top of the car. So look on the look at the undercarriage to see whether or not you have any leaks, any rust, or any damage. And the way you're going to do that, you take your notebook, put your phone in your notebook, and kind of pass it along the underside of the car as far as you can reach, because you don't have a jack, you don't have like a lift that you can put the car on. That's the ideal case if you got a mechanic and you can just take it there during the test drive, but oftentimes most people don't have access to that. So this is kind of like a little cheat, a little pro tip that you can use to get a partial but helpful view underneath the car. So additionally, I recommend that, also, issues found, not all the issues that you find, you need to be making a mental note or keeping a mental note of all the issues that you find with the car. Now, not all the issues are going to be deal breakers, but they're beneficial because they will help you during your negotiations. During the negotiation process, you're going to use this to leverage your position that the car should be a lower price than what it is currently marked up as. Okay, so next order of business. Test drive works out, you've done your research, and now you're ready to purchase. But before you actually are going to go through with the purchase, we need to agree on a price. And so this is where the negotiations come into play. Now, when you first come in, they're going to try to game you. They're going to try to offer you, do you want something to eat? Do you want something to drink? They're going to try to get you nice and comfortable. So just putting you on game. Also, out the gate, 9 times out of 10, they're going to first ask you what your monthly payments, what can you afford as monthly payment? Like, they really want you centered on what your monthly payments are going to be, how much is too much, and what's a good spot for you. You don't want to discuss any of that. None whatsoever. When you first come in, the price of the car is the only thing that you need to be concerned with. When they get you focused on how much you can afford every month, that kind of sidetracks you. And it really does put the cart before the horse. We need to be focused on how much the car is. That's the most important thing. So they'll likely try to hit you with the 4 square method. I've never worked at a car dealership. All this information is just stuff that I've happened to come across in my experience with car dealerships and also through looking at videos on YouTube myself. And so the 4 square method, they're gonna take a sheet of paper, divide it into 4 quadrants, and one's gonna be the cost of the car, the trade, the money down, and your monthly payments. You don't want to deal with any of that stuff, and you're going to take control of the situation by kind of compartmentalizing this process and addressing each one of those things in turn. What they want to do is to bombard you with information and bombard you with questions so that you're not really focused on how much that car costs. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, going back to what I just said, the one with the most information wins. My go-to response, they're going to ask you, so how much can you afford every month? How do you plan on financing? Do you have a trade? How much is your trade worth? They're going to ask you all these questions. I typically will just tell them I don't know to everything, because I don't know. I don't know anything until we figure out the price of the car. So that's what we're going to start with, and that's it. So how are we going to figure out the price of the car? Again, we did research on the back end. So we've already done the research at home. So we're not showing up at the car dealership completely naive. We're not making up numbers based on what we feel. We're not making up anything. We're countering the price of the car if warranted. Again, if you went on Kelley Blue Book or on Carfax and it said that you're getting a great deal on the price, on the car rather, you may not need to negotiate. There may not be any room to negotiate. However, if you see that there's like a $1,200, $1,300 to a $2,000 markup on the car between what the dealership is showing the car listed as versus what Kelley Blue Book and Carfax is saying that the car is worth, then yeah, unless you just have money to throw away, you need to fight for yourself. So no one's gonna advocate for you. You ain't gonna, look, you need to make sure you are speaking up for yourself. And this is another thing. If you don't know how to negotiate, moving forward, I'm making the assumption that you know how to negotiate. If you don't know how to negotiate, bring someone along with you, or be prepared to spend the extra money. It's just that simple. So you want to make a case to devalue the car. And what you're going to do is you're going to use that information that you were collecting during the test drive as your ammunition. That's your premise. So it's like an argument, and it is a game. It's a back and forth. They totally understand this. They expect you to counter. So again, just a quick, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. So you're going to build a case to devalue the car, and you're going to ask them for their best price. What they're going to do is they're going to justify the price. They're going to tell you why it is that the car should be the price that they have listed. You don't care about any of that. You let them know, I have places to be. I'm busy. I'm a busy man. I'm a busy woman. I don't have time to play these games. What's your best price? At which point, they'll probably go speak to the manager. And they'll come down a little bit on the price and say, oh, this is the best we can do. But they're definitely gonna come back, and it's likely gonna be lower than the initial price. Now, this is a song and dance thing. They expect you to kind of go back and forth. If you're unfamiliar with how to negotiate, again, you can watch that in another video, but I'm making the assumption that you, moving forward, that you know how to negotiate. Quick primer. If the car is $25,000, and you have, through your research, determined that the car should be $23,000, you would ideally start at $21,000. And then that way they come down to, you come up to, and you meet at 23. That's how it goes. So once the price is actually agreed upon, make sure you get that in writing. Make sure you get the price of the car in writing, because you don't need them switching up anything on you. So get that in writing. Then from there, then we can talk about a trade if you have one. Now, when you talk about the trade, this is actually going to be the opposite of what you did earlier. So just as you were compiling a list of information to devalue their car, they're going to be compiling a list of information to devalue your car, and it's your job to justify the price of your car. So you also, if you do again have a trade, you'll need to know what that value is going in, and you'll need to make sure that you're firm on your stance and that you're really advocating for yourself to make sure that you can get the most money for your trade as possible. Don't leave any money on the table. These people, they will tell you all these lies about how there's no money in the car, and we're gonna, we're losing money at this point, and we can, listen, I don't care about none of that. Nothing. I don't care. When you go to the car dealership, you have to know they run game on people all day long and twice on Sunday. So you have to come in there with that mindset. Again, if you approach the situation as a cynic, you'll be, look, that's really where you want to start. If you start going in and saying, oh, well, these people really wouldn't screw me out of money, and I trust them, they seem pretty nice. Yeah, they're gonna leave you like the Monopoly man with your pockets turned out inside out. So again, after the trade, after the value of the trade has been established, you want that information in writing, okay? So make sure you get that in writing. Finally, we're transitioning now to, we've already got the price of the vehicle, we've already got the price of the trade, all of that stuff is good. Now they're gonna pass you along to the financing office. Reject everything. The financing office, all this stuff is all upsell, it's all profit. They're gonna tell you, oh, well, do you want the extended coverage? Do you want this? Do you want that? It's all profit for them. So make sure that you reject it. Anything that they allege is coming, oh, well, this is free with the purchase of a car. Get it in writing. Make sure you have it in writing. Don't trust them. So, and if it's not free, don't get it. Point blank. Non-negotiable fees. Sometimes they'll say, oh, well, we have a $1,000, $800 processing fee on the car. You're gonna say, well, can we negotiate? Can you do anything more about that? Can we can I only pay $500? Can you come off of that? They're gonna be emphatic, and they're gonna say, nah, these fees, unfortunately, they come from corporate. We're bound to pay these, or bound to charge you these fees by some government association. At which point you go out of their office, go speak to your salesperson, say, hey, I need you to deduct this fee off the price of the sales price of the car, or they can increase the price of your trade by that amount. It doesn't matter as long as you end up not paying those fees. So again, some of the fees are legit fees, but other complete BS. So make sure that you are, again, advocating for yourself, because no one's going to look out for you like you. Check the figures. Check the figures. Does the vehicle price reflect what was agreed on? Does the trade price reflect what was agreed on? Okay, go through your numbers. Is everything adding up? Another thing, I would be shocked if you found this in another video. Quite possible you will, but verify that the tax rate is correct. I was at a car dealership one time and I went through all my numbers. I found that the tax rate that they were charging me was not the tax rate for the state that I live in. And so I brought that to their attention. Of course, they looked stupid. They, said, oh, well, we're not sure how that happened. The hell you are. You know exactly how that happened. These people, I'll tell you, they're running. This is how they eat. This is how, it's easy for them to say, oh, well, we just made a mistake. That was just a clerical error, but it's always going to be in their favor. I doubt they make clerical errors in your favor. So make sure you're looking out for you. When I'm at the dealership, I'm letting them know, hey, I'm a serious customer. I'm here to spend money. Look, you can eat off me, but this ain't a buffet. So make sure that you advocate for yourself. There's no reason that you have to go to the dealership and leave money on the table and, put yourself or your family in a position where you guys just blew a bunch of money. So the most powerful tool in your arsenal is your ability to leave. Can't stress that enough. So if the deal is not in your best interest, you bounce. Never be in a rush to make a mistake, and no one looks out for you like you. Hope this was informative. Hope it was helpful. Do appreciate it, y'all. Y'all take care. Please do like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any comments for me. Again, I do appreciate it. Y'all take care.